Hi guys, my name is Allison. Lauren had asked me to speak with you guys about my story and my story of hope. Um, it goes back to when I was a kid. I was involved in this um, absolutely horrific accident that should have taken my life. When I was 5 in kindergarten, I went to this school. It was a very small school. The cafeteria was also the gym. During gym time, the tables were supposed to be folded up in the wall and locked. However, one day there was the one table that was not locked. I happened to be laying underneath. Um, the table had come out, snapped my arm in half, and crushed my skull. Um, my only memory of this is from stories of what I've been told. I don't remember the accident itself. The last thing I remember closest to the accident was waking up in the hospital. Um, at the hospital, before I came to, the doctors had told my parents to start planning my funeral because they had done everything they can, and it did not look like I was going to survive. So immediately my parents had started calling family and friends and just telling them that they needed just to pray. And they put my life in God's hands at that moment. When it did finally look that I was going to pull through, the next thing the doctors told them was prepare for her to be a vegetable. I wasn't supposed to be able to talk. I wasn't supposed to be able to move around. I wasn't supposed to be able to be normal because the brain injury was so severe. Once I did come through, they started putting labels on me. Well, she's going to have extra help in school. She's going to have issues with her emotions. She's, all of these things and stuff, which does have some truth to it. I did struggle in school. I did, at the time, I didn't realize it was from the accident, but I did have issues with my emotions. Looking back now, I would say part of it was from the accident, but the other part I think was just, in my opinion, normal behavior as a child. But I started getting defined not just by the medical staff, but by people in my life, teachers, everybody that saw me struggling. By the time I was 7 years old, I didn't really understand everything that was happening with me. I didn't know. So by the time I was 7 years old, it was really the first time I showed signs of depression. I was sitting outside of my grandmother's house saying how I shouldn't be alive, I wish I were dead, and then I wanted to kill myself. At that point in time, my parents had sought out a Christian counselor in Syracuse who had been my saving grace. I started going and seeing her every other week to help me through these challenging times. By the time I got to middle school, things in my life had changed again. We had to move out to this area because of my father's job, and that was really tough on me. Change was really tough on me. So we moved out here. I struggled in school. I really started to get depressed again. I just felt hopeless, completely hopeless. I did not understand what was my purpose in life? Why would God keep me alive when I didn't feel like I had a purpose in life? So I really, really struggled with that throughout high school and middle school. I felt like I was dumb, so there was no point in even trying. And And that goes back to all the labels. You hear it so much, you really start to believe it. You really start to believe, okay, I'm an idiot. I can't do this. So why am I even trying? So towards the end of my high school year, I really, really was struggling with depression and anxiety. I had turned away from my faith. I had turned away from God, and I was just trying to find my way on my own. I didn't realize it at the time, but God knew I needed somebody in my life to help me control those emotions, or help me get those emotions where I can handle them. When I was 21, I met my husband. And the more we were going out, the more he would see bits and pieces of my depression and anxiety. And he's really helped me get those under control. Why are we feeling this way? What can we do to help you? So he's really been my rock through a lot of that. It really wasn't until I had my son that I really started coming back to church. I had joined our local MOPS group, Mothers of Preschoolers, and I was really nervous about going because I thought, okay, you know what, if I go, I've been judged my whole life. I've been told I'm this person my whole life. This is just another place to go. So I went. I was really shy, didn't really open up to anybody about anything. It wasn't until I had joined the MOP steering team where I really felt those connections with Christian women that I needed. Those connections where I can say, hey, I'm struggling with this, and not feel like I was going to get judged. Or, hey, you know, I'm ready to tell you this part of my story. And be comfortable with saying that and not feeling judged. So my whole life, I really was completely hopeless. And joining MOPS had started bringing the hope back to me. And then it brought me back to my faith, and it brought me back to God. So I tell you all of this because I didn't have any hope for the longest time. I really felt there was no reason for me to be here. I really struggled with, do I even have a purpose in life? I still struggle with what's my purpose in life. But the difference between then and now is I have faith and hope in God that He's going to reveal to me one of these days what my purpose is. Might not be today, it might not be tomorrow, but it will be someday. Also, looking back on my life, I had overcome so many trials, and I know the only reason why I have overcome them is because of God. It wasn't doctors, it wasn't nurses, it wasn't teachers. God had been with me all the way through, even when I had turned away from Him. So now the latest thing that I'm struggling with, I still struggle with hope. But I try to find the little things in each day that gives me hope. With everything going on right now, last week when we had found out that school was done for the rest of the year, I had to take a few minutes to myself because I was upset. I knew it was coming, but I was very upset because I know that me as a parent, I can't provide the services for schools that schools can provide to my kids. I can only do so much. So I really was down in the dumps about that. And then over the weekend, I'm like, you know, I started thinking about why did I lose hope when we heard about that. So I started looking for ways to bring hope back into my life, and one of the things is like I I can hope that this is only temporary. This isn't going to be a forever thing. So just finding little bits and pieces in your day that shines a light on that hope is huge. I want to share with you one of actually it's my favorite poem that really brought me through my life. This has always been even when I turned away from God, this has always been my favorite poem. It's called Footprints. I'm not sure who the author is. I almost think the author is unknown, but don't quote me on that. But this one passage in this poem, anytime I'm losing hope or getting down, I read this passage and it really, really puts me back in my place. So I'll read it for you. It said, Lord, you said once I decided to follow you, you would walk with me all the way. But I noticed that during the most troublesome times of my life, there is only one set of footprints. I don't understand why. When I needed you the most, you would leave me. The Lord whispered his reply, My precious child, I love you and I would never leave you. During your times of trial and testing, when you see only one set of footprints, it was then that I had carried you. And looking back on my life, there are so many times God has carried me. And that brings hope into my life every day. I'm sorry. So my hope for you is that find the small things every day that puts a smile on your face, that puts hope back in your heart, to get through whatever it is you guys need to get through. I had to do that. I still do that. And I pray that you know that God is with you every day, and that we're going to get through this. We're going to get through all of our trials and all of our tribulations. Thank you.